What's up, everybody? I'm former quarterback Malik, and if football, sports interviews, and having a good time interests you, then make sure to click the like and subscribe button as it really does help support this channel, and it also makes sure that you guys never miss a new video. How's everyone doing? And welcome back to another episode of Malik Show. And if you guys haven't, please like, subscribe, and share. As you know, I'm really trying to grow this YouTube page. And thank you guys for watching. So we're gonna go ahead and get right into it. And the first thing we're gonna talk about is Eli Drinkwitz. I don't know how much you guys have seen what he's talked about with like the realignment, especially with a lot of these, West Coast schools now starting to play schools on the East Coast. And a lot of it had nothing to do with football, which was, really interesting to see because a lot of times, especially talking about for me, I call them the big two. Men's basketball and really football. Those are the two sports, and sometimes even women's basketball. But those are really the two big sports that gets flown everywhere on private jets. You don't really have to worry about public airport, public transportation. But definitely for like baseball, any of the smaller sports like rowing, tennis, golf, lacrosse, all those sports, most of the time, they're going to the airport, then they're waiting, and then they're hoping there's no layovers. When you're talking about kids going and playing on a Wednesday out in California, then flying back to, New Jersey, Ohio, wherever they're at, and then they have to go to school on, Thursday morning. Because I know that's how it was for baseball. So for baseball, we had, school in the morning, practice in the afternoon. So like for me, if you did a Wednesday, travel, you had class on Thursday, you're probably having class at 8, 9 a.m. in the morning on top of no sleep, on top of traveling. So to me, I think the travel issue will be very big. I think one way, to nip it in the bud is that, for especially some of these schools, they need to, buy private jets. I know that that was one thing that Florida State was doing. I know there's a lot of money into buying, a private jet, but I think that's one solution that, they can have is, buying private jets, bigger size that, some of these teams can travel on. And then over time, hopefully figuring out a solution that works so that, a lot of these collegiate athletes don't have to take the public transportation. Because to me, whenever you play a game and then you get on a bus and then you wait in the airport for 2 hours, you check in and go through TSA, go through all that, and you come back and you have to do it again and go to school. It's a lot. And the main thing is mental health. Because some of these student athletes, and I'll be honest with you, especially like to me, I think about women student athletes, and there are plenty, and even guys, like I know guys as well, but there's student athletes that know that, hey, the way for me to make good money over time is going to be, whether I want to be a doctor, whether I want to be an engineer, whether I want to be, whatever they want it to be in life. There's certain people that they know mentally that my mind is going to get me further than what my physical body is going to get me. And those are the people that to me have a lot of mental health, and not necessarily that, because, I've definitely had my mental health struggles, but those are people that it hits a little harder because they're doing good in sports, but then because they're doing good in sports, because of travel, maybe it's a long hours, now they're slacking off, in their schoolwork, their grades are starting to, hit them very hard, and then they start to get super stressed out. They don't know how to deal with it. So, figuring out something that they got to do with that side of mental health to me is going to be very big. Because you will start see it affect people, and I don't necessarily think it'll be football. I think it's going to be other sports that have to deal with just aggravating, tedious stuff that originally they didn't have to deal with. And again, they just need a better plan, across all sports. Like, hey, how are we going to help, the women's softball team go from Rutgers to California without putting them on a regular, American Airlines flight with, another 30, 40, 50 people? How do you make it to where they feel comfortable flying across, playing their game, and coming back? I think that's a lot of stuff that, especially with this realignment, they got to figure out. And again, this is not a football problem. It's basically like an all other sports problem. So hopefully they can figure something out, but we'll see what they do. We will take a quick break and thank our sponsors, DGen Sports. DGen Sports is an exciting NFT project that combines real world sports and NFT culture. Behind an experienced leadership team, the project just launched their third season and offers free to play sports prediction prizes every month. They gave away a $250 NFT for the Masters alone. Follow them for We will take a quick break to thank our sponsors, DGen Sports. DGen Sports is an exciting NFT project that combines real world sports and NFT culture. Behind an experienced leadership team, the project just launched their third season and offers free to play sports prediction prizes every month. They gave away a $250 NFT for the Masters alone. Follow them on Twitter at DGen Sports IO. And obviously a lot of people know that Miami is playing Texas A&M week 2. I am super excited about that, and so we're going to get into some of the stuff that I've been doing some research on about Texas A&M. So number one is going to be about Bobby Petrino. I think this was really cool when he talked about his essentials for when he's looking for a quarterback. So number one is leadership. And in that section, he really talks about making guys play better than what they are. And yes, I agree. Leadership helps. There's times, where I've had to, cuss a guy out. There's times I've just walked over and said, "Hey, man, let's go. You're better than this. I'm gonna keep throwing you, the slant, the fade, kind of whatever route he dropped. Let's keep getting better." But I also think you have to be a good player. At the end of the day, I think if you're a sorry quarterback, no one's going to want to follow you. And obviously, that's why a lot of these kids are D1. That's why Texas A&M recruits at the highest level. So I don't think the ability part is really their issue, but it's more about getting these guys to play when it's hot, when they're tired, if they had a bad play, a bad series, a bad practice. Like, how do you get the best out of every player every day? And that's something that is very hard. Next is being a competitor. To me, a lot of this is when it's hot again. There's people that's moping and complaining, like, are you still out there running around? You still have high energy? Are you still, finishing reps? Are you leading by example? To me, I think a lot of that really your heart in the game is kind of what he means by his competitor. Next, obviously, you got to be accurate. I think one thing that's really big is you don't see in any of this him talking about arm strength. You don't see him talking about, oh, I need a guy that can throw it 70, 80 yards. And yes, that stuff helps. Yes, that stuff, allows you to make better plays. I don't say better plays, but just different types of plays. But at the end of the day, I don't think it's essential for a quarterback to be able to throw it 70, 80 yards. Yes, you need some type of arm strength. I think you at least need to be throwing it 60, 65. But I don't need a 70, 80, 90-yard arm for a quarterback to be a really good quarterback. And last is poise. There's going to be times where you're going to throw and get hit. There's going to be times where you're going to throw and there's going to be guys around. There's going to be times where you're going to throw and there's literally going to be no one blocking the guy and he's going to be running right at your face. So how do you respond? Do you freak out? Do you know where to go? And to me, a lot of poise has to do with understanding your playbook, understanding, all their blitzes, saying, hey, I know versus, this protection. If they bring this blitz, I'm going to be hot and this guy might come free. To me, it's a lot of that stuff that allows you to be poised, that allows you to be calm, that, I think that if these guys stay in the playbook, that it allows them, to be more comfortable, especially in the pocket. So these were some really good points that, Bobby had about, what he's looking for in a quarterback. And I think these are definitely good things to look for because I think at the end of the day, this is what wins you games. So next, we're going to go into the kind of offense that, he was kind of talking about, which I think is going to be very interesting. But he said, one, that he's going to call plays based on playmakers. And I will say there was coaches in the past that I know that have called plays just because they like the play. It's been one of their staple plays for so many years. And we might not have been the best at running it, but it technically was a good play. But I really like how he's going to predicate his offensive play calling around, the guys that are making plays. And hey, if my X is making a play, I'm going to him. If my slot's making a play, I'm going to find ways to get him open. To me, I think those are the most effective offenses when you have one or two good players and you figure out ways to get the ball in their hands as many times as possible. I am interested in the run game. They did lose Devon A-Chain, so I think that, they could not necessarily have a little bit of struggles, but, they're going to have to figure out who their running back is going to be. Obviously, they have a ton of talent back there, so I don't think talent's going to be the issue, but there's a lot more that goes into being a running back than just running the ball. A lot of line communication, a lot of protections, a lot of different things like that really affect, the running back's playing time and how successful the offense is going to be. And last is, I think that the quarterback's reads are going to be a lot of progression reads. So I mean, like, you're going to have a lot of wide cross, which is like go out, cross, dig or post curl. You're going to have a lot of flood concept where it's going to be like go, sail, flat. I think you're going to have simply like wide shallow where he's going to read like post, shallow, dig to back. I think you might have some four vert concepts that would be very, very simple. I think he's going to do a lot of stuff, where he says, hey, we're either going to go a pure progression or you're going to pick one side of the field and that's the side of the field you're going to work. I can see like star, I can see like hitch, just very, very, I don't want to say elementary concepts, but concepts that are super simple that allows, for Connor Wigman to get the ball out of his hands. I think Connor Wigman will wind up being the star just because of his athletic ability and the guy does have a really good arm. But I think with Connor, they're going to keep it simple. They're going to let this guy play fast and just let, the talent of the team and his natural talent slowly take over. So I'm very interested to see, how Petrino puts together this offense. And obviously, Jimbo Fisher is going to have his kind of hands in it as well. So it could be kind of a combination, but I am very interested to see, how their game planning goes. And the last thing about Texas A&M, I'm kind of give you my predictions. Like I said earlier, I do think the quarterback will be Connor Wigman. I think they'll be the third best team in the SEC West. I think LSU is going to be number one. I think Alabama is going to be number two. I think you have Texas A&M at number three. I do have them at 4 losses. I think Miami's going to beat them, and I think a lot of it's going to be just because we're going to be able to get pressure. I know Texas A&M has a really good offensive line, but I think our edge guys are going to be able to, put some pressure on Connor Wigman. But I do think it's going to be a very, very close game. Number two, Alabama. I think them playing Alabama, I just can't bet against Nick. LSU, the only reason why I have them there is because I really like their quarterback. I know they've had some issues, but I think by the time they play LSU, a lot of the guys are going to be coming back because they had that big brawl with like Malik Neighbors and some other guys. But I think that LSU is a team that will beat them. And then lastly, and this is a maybe, a lot of it has to do with how Connor's doing and especially how Joe Milton's doing. But Tennessee, I think this is going to be an electric game. It's one of my games of the year that I have when Texas A&M plays Tennessee, because I think it's going to be a clash of two really, really talented teams just going at it. So I have them, to me at worst 8-4. I think they're going to sit somewhere around 8-4, 9-3. I think they have a really good year. They have a ton of talent. I could even see, and I want to say this, but I can even see potentially Miami being a W for them, depending on how Miami comes out. I think that there are some places that we don't necessarily have more talent in, but I think we have more experience, and that experience should help us. And we have home field advantage. Hopefully, everyone comes out. Usually when it's a big game at home, Miami fans do a great job in coming out. So speaking of Miami, to me, I'm gonna go over my offensive MVP for 2023, and I think Xavier Restrepo has to be that guy. I think he has to be not necessarily the best player on the field at all times. But when it comes to third down, he has to be the most efficient player at all times. I think he's going to be TBD safety net. I think he's going to be that guy when it's 3rd and 3, when it's in the fourth quarter and I need that first down. We're in the red zone and I need that guy to make a play. I think TBD is going to try to find Xavier. Not saying that he's going to lock onto him, because there was times where, I knew if it was 3rd down, I'm trying to find Braxton. Now, if Braxton's not open, I'm not going to force it. If they double team him, then I got to bypass it. But also if it's a one-on-one, I know my guy's running like an option route, or we used to call it like a jerk route, or like Yogi, which is where he would kind of break out and slant back in. I'm taking that one-on-one matchup, and I'm hoping that my guy's going to win. And I definitely see a lot of that chemistry being built between Xavier and TVD. So I think he has to become really, really good at being that third down expert when it's 3rd and short, 3rd and medium. Being that guy that can basically get us the first down. And lastly, he's a leader in the room. He's a leader in the receivers room. He's probably been there the longest. He's played a lot of ball. He has a lot of experience. He has the respect of a lot of people. I mean, when you guys, hear NFL scouts talking about guys that are working, they always bring up Xavier Restrepo's name. You talk about, players in general, talk about, the guy that's working, you hear his name. So, this guy's a workhorse, he's a leader. And I know there are people that, a little bit doubt his talents, think the other guys are more athletically gifted. The biggest thing I'll say about this, man, is I know guys that are fast that can't run routes. You see a lot of the young guys now, you hear them talking about they're running better routes. They're running better routes. They're running better routes. That's one thing that I'm super happy about, but that's one thing that I think Xavier does really, really well. And at the end of the day, when you're playing Texas A&M, Georgia, LSU, Clemson, Florida State, their defensive backs are going to be fast too. So just because our receivers are fast doesn't mean we're going to be able just to, run by people. A lot of that comes on how you stem, how you stack, how you lean on people, different things like that. And I think that's one thing that Xavier has definitely mastered. And the last thing we're going to get into is a little bit of NFL talk. Sorry about the top, it's a little lights in the way, but the NFL, basically the players voted on the top 10 quarterbacks, or really top 100 players, but then they took it out. They took the top 10 quarterbacks, and this is kind of where they sat. So Patrick Mahomes, number 1, makes a lot of sense. Jalen Hurts, number 2, makes sense. Joe Burrow, 3, makes a lot of sense. Obviously, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert at 5. Number 6 is crazy. Kirk Cousins above Aaron Rodgers and Dak Prescott and Lamar Jackson. Wasn't Lamar Jackson just the MVP? And wasn't Aaron Rodgers a couple years ago too? So I'm just lost at how all of a sudden Kirk Cousins is so high. Now I will say there's a lot of great people around him. He just lost Dalvin, so I think that's going to be an interesting play. He does have Justin Jefferson, and then he has Jordan Addison. So Kirk Cousins does have some weapons, but there's no way you're building a team around Kirk Cousins versus any of these other quarterbacks. I would build a team around Rodgers, Dak, and Lamar before I build a team around Kirk Cousins. So I'm sorry. And the same thing with golf. How do you put Jared Goff above Lamar? I wouldn't put Jared Goff above Daniel Jones. and just some is just ridiculous. I definitely want to know who voted these two guys this high. Maybe I can see Kirk Cousins falling in at like 10, somewhere around there, but like I would still take a Daniel Jones over him. I would still, I mean, probably take Cousins over. Yeah, I would take Cousins over Field, but I would take Field over Golf for sure. All right, guys, and that's the end of the episode. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. Don't forget, please like, subscribe, and share. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.